I'm Jennifer Horn, and joining us right now is the president of the Conservative Caucus. That is so fancy to have the president here. Can you believe it? Jim Pfaff, our friend, is back again. You can give him a follow at Jim Pfaff. And Jim, good morning to you.
Good morning, and if you want fancy, go to my wife. Don't go to me.
I know. I'm going to start playing Hail to the Chief or, something like that. I mean, please, we got to roll out the red carpet around here. So lots to talk to you about today, Jim. And one of the questions I just threw out to our 6 o'clock club members is all about Minneapolis. I mean, there's a problem brewing. It is not being helped along by Tim Walz or by the Mayor Jacob Frey. Last night, ICE agents were trying to do an arrest on an illegal immigrant suspected of a crime. They get him arrested. He's in custody, and then the crowds show up and they start trying to steal their weapons out of their weapons locker. They create all of this chaos. The suspect tries to escape, picks up a snow shovel, and starts beating the heck out of the ICE agent, who then shoots this guy in the leg. So now President Trump is saying maybe we need the Insurrection Act to bring troops into Minneapolis, which people are not going to love to see that. So what's the solution? You can't let this city just go out of control. Law and order still matters, but what do we do, Jim?
I mean, I don't know how Trump can ignore the possibility of using the Insurrection Act under situations like that. But what makes it worse is not just the fact that these protesters are doing these things that you just described, it's that the politicians are encouraging it.
Yeah.
And this is the really breathtaking part of all this, is that you've got Democrat politicians all over the country who are encouraging people to commit violent acts against law enforcement. And what's really interesting is that they constantly call this lawless behavior, but in very fact, this is exactly lawful behavior. Donald Trump must, as the chief executive in the executive branch, he is duty bound to do what ICE is doing. And that's something I don't hear a lot of people talk about. Like, this is the minimum requirement for a president of the United States if they're going to uphold the law, unlike Joe Biden, who absolutely ignored the law and allowed the chaos to come that Donald Trump's having to clean up. So when I see these violent acts taking place like that, and an ICE agent having to defend themselves. Listen, I don't want those situations to have to happen, but what else is required here? And these people have to protect themselves too. And so I think that, I think we've got to keep calling out these politicians, and Donald Trump is going to be within his right to use the Insurrection Act to address this if he has to.
I think what we need is the leaders to stop trying to distract from their own ineptitude, and probably worse than that, Jim, probably their own intentional fraud that they've created in their own states. And so what do? Instead of looking in the mirror and saying, hey, we screwed up, we let all of this happen, or hey, our gravy train's being disrupted. I mean, whatever it is, now it's just all about ICE. Same thing in California. I mean, we have fraud that is worse than Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota is just a sneeze compared to the flu of fraud that happens in California. But you have Gavin Newsom out there blaming Trump for everything because they want to distract. And the news media lets them, especially when stuff like this is happening on the streets. I think we need to go after the groups who are bringing these people in. They are very well organized. They are funded. And if you want to stop all of this, then you got to figure out where they're going on social media to incite this kind of terrorism.
Exactly. And you said it earlier in your statement there. Exactly. This is the plan. This is exactly what Democrats want. There's no mistakes. They don't apologize because they're actually accomplishing a whole lot of what they hope to accomplish in the long run. And when you talk about fraud, the tens of billions of dollars of fraud that is in California, and you are right to talk about that. We have Minnesota in the front of our brains right now. It's breathtaking in California. But what's more breathtaking is the tens of millions of dollars that have been going to groups like Chirla, who stirred up the L.A. riots last year, that are coming from the state and local governments. We found out there were about $500,000 that Department of Homeland Security gave to Chirla over a 2-year period. When the riots came out, we found that out. But there are tens of millions that have gone from state government.
Oh, yeah.
In other words,
they have real estate,
this is an
too.
Infrastructure.
They get real estate and money.
It's an infrastructure of chaos that Democrats in California certainly have built, but Democrats are building all over the country.
And we're funding it. And see, that's why this stuff, as much as people, I think, do not like to see these images, I don't like to see these images on the streets. And I fear for our ICE agents. I fear for our law enforcement because people are just so crazy and they're being pushed along by these voices that just ramp them up. But you have to do something about it, because what's happening is that all of the money, whether it's on the large scale like we saw in Minnesota, where the government money is going to terrorists, Al-Shabaab in Somalia, or the money is going to fund political groups here in California that are taking these people apart, we're funding our own demise. And that has to stop. And there's got to be a time when we take a stand. And that beast does not like to have its head cut off. That's for sure.
There's no doubt. And we have to also take note of the fact that this problem of government money, our tax dollars, being moved into political operations on a mass scale began. I mean, it's kind of happened in government for a long period of time, but it really went on steroids after the stimulus plan was passed in 2009 during the Barack Obama administration. This is when California got bailed out. Remember, government money, federal government money, goes into federal government programs that are administered by the states, Medicaid being one of them amongst many. But never before that time had there been anything like the kinds of bailouts that Barack Obama gave to California and other states at that time, because they had run their budgets into the ground. And so that was twisted and utilized to build out this NGO regime that we have that is this infrastructure of chaos and political activity. That's what's been going on. And when you hear the negative and rancid talk against Donald Trump to address this, just remember, that's coming from people who know that they're going to lose their gravy train. That's exactly what that's all about.
Yep, because their power gets cut off, their money gets cut off. And we see it locally in California. We see it across the country. And now we see other people from other countries figuring this out. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. The worst kept secret ever. Jim Pfaff, that's why we love going through these issues of the day with you. Make sure you give him a follow. Jim Pfaff, you could do that on X. He's the president of the Conservative Caucus, and you can find out more. What's the website there, Jim?
TheConservativeCaucus.com.
That's a really tough one. So we're going to write it down together. TheConservativeCaucus.com. All right, we got it. And of course, Jim's the fancy president. So how about that? All right, Jim, thanks so much for joining us. Have a great week. We'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
All right.